Hey guys, so I know this is supposed to be me playing Sky Wars and you guys watching me suck at it, but my girlfriend sucks at washing dishes, so I figured it's more important for me to teach you guys just how you're supposed to wash dishes. Now, I'll have to find a good something to set you on. The first step to washing dishes successfully is you want to have to change the soap as little as possible. And if I were to soap this up right now and try to wash it, then it would get very dirty quickly and I'd have to change the water and use more soap. So what I'm going to start off with is I want to clean off all of the gunk that I can off of here using high pressure water and a scrubby. This is pretty rough. It's much rougher than a sponge. So let's put the water in high pressure. Let's get scrubbing. No soap yet. I'm just getting off stuff. Just trying to get rid of the stuff that doesn't belong there. And once everything has mostly been taken off, you don't need the high pressure water right now. You can turn that off. Get rid of the scrubby. And now you can use the sponge, which has clearly, unless you're stupid, you can see that it has two sides. This is a softer side. It's very good at picking up oil and grease, and that's best for finishing touches. This is much rougher, and it's pretty good for breaking up anything that's still on here. And this is where you use the soap. Put a little bit of soap on there. You can use a lot if you want. And you just go over this with a tiny bit of water. And this is to break up all the grease and get it off of the glass or metal or whatever you're using. Generally, I would start off with steel wool to get rid of the gunk in the beginning. But you don't always need to use steel wool because it might scratch plastic or metal, especially Teflon. But if it's stainless steel wool is the way to go. So now I've scraped it off, and this one is looking pretty good. I don't even need to use the soft side on this. Most of that grease came off really easily because it was butter from brownies. I'd say that we just did a pretty good job. Rinse it off, then I can put it in the dish rack to dry. Now that was just the first one. Here's the second one. This seems to have been like, what was that? That looks like heart attack potatoes. Just potatoes with cheese and some bacon on top. Pretty tasty if you ask me, but I'm not a big fan of potatoes. So now we're gonna go over it with a rough scrubby, try to get off some of this cheese which has been sitting here for who knows how long. And see, a lot of this, if you were trying to scrub this off with a sponge, that would take hours to do. So it would only come off in layers. Right now, since this is really hard, it just breaks it right off of the metal. See, I personally prefer to have a two-basin sink, because if there are two basins, then you can scrape off all the gunk in one, and then wash it and rinse it in the other, or scrape off all the gunk and wash in one, and then rinse in the other. So, but either way, that's the first step. Scrape off all the gunk. You can turn on the water, rinse most of that off, and get that down into the drain so that it won't be getting on the dishes later. It's looking pretty good. And you can turn off this water, go back to the sponge, which is already still soapy from the last one. Now I can just go around here, get off any grease or oil. And there's still a little bit of gunk because I wasn't able to take it all off, but that doesn't matter. I won't need to change the soap because I can just scrape this off with the sponge. Now this one, as I said before, this one's a bit harder because it's cheese and it likes to stick. But this would be perfect for stainless steel because although it would scratch it a little bit, as you can see in the bottom of the pan from scratches. Those scratches were actually from knives when people were cutting the brownies. So stainless steel wouldn't do much to this. Maybe a little, but it's not a big problem because it's already scratched, and the scratches wouldn't really do much. So now we got this all soapy, and we got off any more gunk that was on here. We can just wipe it off with the soft side, get off any more oil that's on there, and now I think we're pretty much good to go. We'll rinse it off one more time, and once all the bubbles are gone, we'll be able to see if we missed any areas where there was still gunk. Oftentimes, just some of this will be sticking on. You just need to give it a little bit of a rub, and it comes right off. And I don't know, if you ask me, that looks like a clean pan. Now clearly I'm doing this in a bit slower than I would be if I weren't filming. This one, it's got all this grime on it. Don't put that in the sink. Why the heck would you do that? This can go in the trash can. Brush it off. And then the rest that falls on the floor can be eaten by the dog. Now rinse it off. And this one, it's already looking so good I don't even need to use the scrubbing in the beginning. I just rinsed off most of the gunk, so I don't have to scrub it with a hard scrubber or steel wool. I can just go over lightly with this, maybe push down a little bit in some areas. It's looking pretty good. This doesn't even have to be washed really, this just had to be wiped off. And obviously because there's grease, that's why you wipe it with the soft side. That gets off all the grease, which is the main killer and is quite gross to cook on a second time, although it won't hurt you if it's above 160 degrees. Now I think someone had cooked chicken tenders on this in the oven. It's all cleaned out, and we just have one last dish to wash. And this looks like it was maybe nachos, and this also has crumbs on it, which I accidentally just knocked into the sink. So I'm going to put all these in the trash. Tap these out, brush it off. Also has things here which are pretty hard, but they're hard and they would be extremely difficult to scrub off. But if you just crack them off, they're not really sticking to the pan. They're more just sticking to themselves. Rinse it off. And maybe just a tiny bit more soap and that little bit of water. And now this pan is just about done. Now, if you don't have a dishwasher, or if your dishwasher is broken, because goodness, our dishwasher loves to break itself, especially since I'm the one who's in charge of washing dishes. Sometimes I think that the other people in my family purposely break the dishwasher just so that I'll have to wash these dishes. Then you'll have to wash all of the cups. The dishwasher's broken, which aren't very difficult at all. They just require the soft side of the sponge and then a rinse, along with some soap, clearly. The soap is what bonds to the grease and takes off the grease. If you aren't using soap, then it's not going to work very well. There we go. Set that guy down to dry. Dry the hands of my own. Put away the hard scrubby. Rinse all the leftover gunk into the middle of the drain. And I can take the drain out myself. Dump it in the trash. And now we're done washing the dishes. Generally, there's a lot more dishes in this, but
You gotta find a place for all that stuff in the hall. You got about 1 hour to get everything.